have Dylan joining, the GOAT himself. How's it going?
The winner of season 3.
Hey guys, thanks
Not
for having me.
forget.
Really appreciate it.
Nice
Good
to
to have
chat
you
with
on.
you again. Yeah,
I like the stash, Jack.
thank you. It's been like a year now. I think it was my 2022 thing, and then it's 2023, and I still have it. So I don't know. Maybe I was thinking about shaving it at midnight, just kind of like a clear delineation of the years, but it's sticking around for now.
Not a beard for 23.
That's an idea.
The thing is, you can't shave that mustache until Michigan wins a playoff game. So
True.
you thought you were going to
That's
be
true.
getting rid of it. It might be another year.
It might be a while.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. So do we have? I should do the classic thing of asking the Discord for questions too.
Oh yeah,
But
so Dylan, it's been 3 years since all this shit went down. All Stars. What have you been up to in those 3 years?
So, geez, because that would have been junior year, first semester. So since then, I've studied abroad in Barcelona. Caught COVID on the way home. One of the first people in my county. I watched the ticker go up from like 10 to 11 right after I got back. I'm currently living in Tampa, Florida now. This very sunny Tampa, Florida. It's about on average 75 degrees here right now. It's probably like 60 at the moment. Just loving life. Got away from the got away from the cold for a bit. A couple of ski trips this year to try to get back into it.
Hey, nice.
We're probably like about as far as physically possible from you because we're both in like Pacific Northwest, so we're like all the way across the country.
Are you guys up in like Seattle area?
Yeah, Sam's in Seattle. I'm in like Portland kind of area.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, how you guys liking it?
Loving it. It's definitely cold and gray compared to Florida, but I really like it.
Yeah, I like that there's not as much snow, and like I'm pumped. I got an Epic Pass. I'm going to be skiing a lot this year.
Nice.
Like, a lot of nice skiing out in the Northwest. So I feel like it's cool to just explore a completely different region. You know, like I was in the Midwest for so long, like in Michigan for so long, that it's cool to be somewhere completely different.
Completely different skiing too. This is going to be my first time out west this year.
All right,
and yeah, looking forward to it. Epic. So is that the main one? Because I know the other one's Icon. Do you have more Epic mountains out where you're at?
Yeah, they have a lot for honestly, like both of them. There's a decent amount out west, but like it just ended up that like a lot of my friends were getting Epic, and like just some of the places I was planning on going this year, like Vail, like Whistler, Stevens Pass, were all Epic. So that's what I went with. But
that's kind of how it ends up. Just like where your friends get the pass, you kind of just hop on. It's this kind of group thing, you know.
Yeah.
So you said you were one of the first COVID people. Do you think that we have a theory that Lucy was actually patient zero? You know, what do you think about that? You know, did Lucy give you COVID, and maybe you brought it to Barcelona? Maybe it was dormant for a while.
So you think that she had it that early too, huh?
Yeah. She's got to start somewhere.
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility. And then who knows, lay dormant until I came back. But I don't know if you guys saw in the news, like I was a part of that big group that came back because there was that huge debacle of shutting down the airports. Everyone's trying to get home, and then Chicago airport was like crazy on the news. And it took me like, I want to say like 5, maybe 6 hours to get through the airport after landing, due to like COVID and restrictions, and then like the what do you call it, customs. Everything was just so crazy backed up, and so many people coming in. So yeah, sure, that's Lucy's fault.
So in terms of Survivor, let's bring it back to All Stars. You came into this as the only winner. How did that make you feel? And like, what did you do to try to like kind of take the target off of yourself coming in as the only winner?
Well, I definitely knew I had my work cut out for me. I wouldn't say that I had high hopes going into it, given the heavy competition and that fact. Um, but I didn't know who was going to be cast. You know, everyone has a decent idea just based on um, popular and or chaotic people from past seasons. Um, but you know, I really enjoyed playing season three, and I wasn't really even familiar with the Survivor community going into season three. I'd watch maybe one or two seasons, and then I watched a couple more to prepare for season three, almost like homework. Um, and so, you know, that new experience and just enjoying playing the game was like another big reason why I wanted to come back and play. And you know, FOMO, everyone else
Mm-hmm.
is doing it. I don't want to be
Yeah.
left out. Um,
Do you remember what seasons you watched before you play season 3? It'd be funny if you had like a similar winning game to whoever won.
I do remember the big one was Pearl Islands, which I believe was
Mm,
season five, right? Um,
7, but who's counting?
seven. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
What one was five? Maybe I also watched five.
5 was
5.
Thailand, I think. I have weird
No,
photographic
it
memory.
was
I feel like
not
with
Thailand.
Survivor seasons and numbers.
It was Pearl Islands. Yeah. So I don't think. I mean, you guys can give your 2 cents, but I don't think my game was really based on anyone super in particular. I really liked um, um, the the pirate guy,
Oh, Rupert.
Rupert. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rupert. Yeah, Rupert the pirate.
Yeah.
I really liked. He ended up. Yeah, quick sidetrack. Didn't he end up running for like a government
Yeah,
position after
Indiana
Survivor?
governor. Yeah.
Yeah, what? That's crazy.
He debated Mike Pence because Mike Pence was the Republican nominee and Rupert was like the Libertarian nominee.
Wait, I
There's
didn't know it was
literally a
up against
picture
Mike
of Mike
Pence.
Pence
That's
and
I
Rupert
keep
on
hilarious.
stage
sending that Mike
together.
Pence beat Rupert.
Yeah.
We
Rob.
love throwing
Rupert was
around like
definitely Rob.
hypotheticals and like after Survivor seasons and stuff like this, but how funny would it have been if Rupert somehow beat Mike Pence
Wow.
and ended up in as the vice president of the United States?
I think that would be very on brand for American politics.
Yeah.
And also probably better, to be honest.
Yeah. And I think that's probably likelier than some of the scenarios that people have of Tom winning All Stars. So, you know.
Yeah, who's
sorry, Tom.
of all the people on, let's say season 3, or let's say All Stars, whatever. If I were Michigan, who's most likely to make a Rupert like run into politics?
Or Rupert like run into politics.
Yeah.
So like, you know, had the stardom on Survivor, had some, you know, fanfare afterwards and had a little bit of a following and then ultimately failed in politics. Is that kind of where who do I think?
Sure.
Who just crash and burn? Yeah.
I don't even know about All Stars, but I could honestly see Richard having a very similar. He didn't have the sort of run that Rupert did, but
Yeah.
maybe I guess like I would compare. I guess Dale maybe is more similar to Rupert.
I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I could
Just
see
'cause-
Richard being up on the podium during a debate and just yelling numbers at like as the other person's trying to talk.
Mhm.
And just, like, I think that my plan for Social Security is 37, 26, 15.
Just yelling out like the national deficit to the other person or something. Yeah.
Yeah, just drowning them out to make
Mhm.
to make like the audience confused about what they're trying to say.
You
And
know,
they'll-
that might even be enough in this day and age. Who knows?
Probably.
Yeah. Yeah. So going back to All Stars and your plan going in. So I guess like what was also kind of your motivation, having already won the crown, as you said a couple of times, to come back and apply? Just that
You know,
competitive
I
nature
saw,
in you.
you know, Sandra was able to do it, so I thought, you know, why not me? Why not give it a shot? If it works out, great. If it doesn't, you know, I already won, so you know, whatever. But I wanted to not crash and burn as much, I suppose, or not go out as early, to at least not taint the reputation so much. But I thought it was still a valiant effort,
Oh yeah.
on my own part. So
Definitely.
I'm okay with it. I can sleep at night.
Oh yeah, going back to Pearl Islands, and like I feel like I can see a comparison between you and Sandra as winners, like kind of a little bit more playing in the background, at least at first,
Mhm.
making connections with people, anyone but me style,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah, I'm
like
trying to think
making the
back,
big
like,
moves when you need to.
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Because I don't, she, I wasn't very successful in individual immunity challenges either,
Hmm.
and um, but still was able to play, a good social game, have the information around,
Yeah.
and make the moves that were needed to get to the end. Um, so yeah, I like that comparison.
Yeah, Dylan Diaz Twine, I see it.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. 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 Now it's funny that you mentioned too, like you're like, yeah, I didn't want to, whatever, taint the reputation. I feel like one of the things that we were talking about was like, yeah, like one of the things we do is like try to rank like the person's returning season versus their first season, and we were like,
Hmm.
not taking away from like your victory the first time because you had like you were a winner your first time. You were like the second time, you're like we almost like, I mean, we were like inherently we had to rank a first place finish ahead. We're like the second game you played like so well that it was even a discussion because you're like, I feel like you got really unlucky in the way you got out, and like ultimately, like I feel like even though you didn't last as long, you honestly, in a lot of ways, like proved yourself even more as like a winner your first time. I think, and just that like you were doing a lot in those first 3 weeks, and like yeah, the way you went out was really absurd. We'll get into it, but it was a lot of bad luck to be honest. So like I don't know. I
Hmm.
thought that like you had a really good showing in those weeks, and like one of the big things I think coming into it was you had kind of like people hadn't seen season 3 come out. There's a lot of discussion on like, oh, Aaron played such a good game. Aaron should have won season 3.
Hmm.
But like, I feel like it's aged really well watching season 3 now and seeing all the things you were doing. I feel like people really underestimated you coming into All Stars because of kind of that perception. And I feel like you really used that to your advantage in that like you came in as a winner, but like you still like were able to get that target off of your back, being the only person that was a winner coming into that game. And like even seeing my own confessionals, and like I was still underestimating you in that season, thinking like, oh, what connections does Dylan have? And, it shows you
Hmm.
have like all these secret alliances you're doing, this text of the century you sent to Megan. So like I don't know. I feel like you played like this similar to the way you did your first game, but like even more like you're doing even more so. Like you had one secret alliance your first game. This time you had like 5 secret alliances, and like
Yeah.
no one really suspected it.
Yeah, I think that was a great point. Like, um, kind of going back to what I mentioned earlier, that this was like I guess, another opportunity to build off of season 3. Like I had mentioned, like I wasn't as familiar with Survivor. I was still, a lot of people mentioned like there wasn't a whole lot for me going on in the early stages of the game, the pre-merge. And that's pretty truthful. I was still trying to figure out, how this game is supposed to be played. And so this time around, I wanted to do something different. So it wasn't, a complete replication. And I knew that a lot of people had seen season 3 and I couldn't play the same way. And, like you mentioned, uh, you didn't know that I had some of these alliances going around, which was, if you of all people, the social butterfly, didn't know, then and it means that I was at least doing something right. Um, but we had a great tribe, and so in order to navigate, these completely different social dynamics, it was going to be very difficult. So um, you know, it did feel a little bit unlucky at the end, but um, I guess that is also just a testament to like how social and how good of like a tribe that we really had. And I think from what I've been seeing in a lot of the comments in the community is like we had a pretty stacked tribe in general.
Yeah. our tribe is like takes up so much of the screen time in those first 3 episodes because just like so much was going on. Like I don't know how it was possible for our tribe in 3 episodes to have as much like drama as we did, but it definitely was like a roller coaster for those weeks.
Yeah, and I didn't realize how much Megan was doing too.
Yeah.
That completely threw me off going back and watching, and she was really navigating the social game really well, and um, I was already pretty out of touch with season 4 going into this, and so the whole Megan Jackson dating was a huge throw off, and they played that really well up until, obviously what we'll probably get into soon here in a second.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, with the Abbey stuff you just talked about, like, I feel like, I guess one question I have for that is like, how do you feel about it? Like, do you think that you blame that for your game ending at all? Like, do you feel like that impacted you negatively?
Not really. I honestly think like the biggest thing looking back on it and rewatching is, like as you saw, Aaron and I were splitting up. We were trying to foster these relationships with Adam and Megan early on to try to, because they were almost put into the middle seat right away. And looking back on it, I was always trying to, downplay how strong of an alliance Aaron and I had, and I think that was just a complete waste of time because it was just too obvious at that point. And so, I should have been trying to also talk to Megan more. Maybe we did it together if it was just that obvious. I think that would have made a big difference. Because trying to do it individually and, trying to be like, but, Aaron's my ally, but, down the line, I don't see like just, playing these games, I don't think was worth it. And it was pretty evident seeing that they're more willing to work with you and Lucy. So when the Abbey thing came out, looking at how the events, the timeline unfold, I would say it does have some like impact. Obviously, we were able to use it in the text of the century and stuff like that, but because it came out, maybe that text didn't mean as much. I don't know what your guys' thoughts on that are also, because the text was about just trying to show that like she shouldn't have that much trust in yours and Lucy and Adam's alliance than they should ours. So maybe if it was more of a secret, it would maybe show her even more that was not worth it, and the outcome could have been differently. So I don't know. It's all give and take.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think we were talking about this on our recap episode. I think the text really did a lot. I don't think you should downplay the text, because like it did, like it worked, and Megan getting you, like voting with you at least in the first round of things, and like, and it definitely, like, I feel like even like watching it, like we were talking about this last time, it isn't as clear maybe to the audience, or I don't know, but just about who like all knew about the whole like her and Jackson situation. So like you revealing that Sam was sharing that information to people, it wasn't like it was like everybody knew it already. Like Sam actually did.
Yeah. You're jogging my memory, because I thought at that point it was more. Yeah, you're right. Because I think it was it just a smaller group? Was it like, because Aaron for sure knew already, or maybe she was the one that told me, because I think we got it from Cooper, if I look back on it or something, right? Is that what it was?
It showed like Cooper told both of you.
Yeah, right.
Cooper had gotten that information from me, and basically, I think what happened was, it seems like you guys went and told Megan, like, oh, like Sam is telling everyone about you and Jackson. Even though, and then she kind of assumed like, oh, Sam's telling this to Aaron and Dylan. Like, why is Sam spreading this to people? He's claiming he wants to get out of the game.
That does make more sense. Yeah. So
trying to think back to these things. And like, I think that ultimately, like Megan says in the episode, like I was planning on sticking with my alliance. Like that was kind of the last straw that like made her flip.
Yeah.
So that text really like was the reason.
Yeah. No, the text was, it was definitely a reasonable thing to send.
It was the
And
text of the century.
it did work, it
Yeah.
did work. And it was very confusing, the flip back, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I would love to hear what Megan has to say nowadays. But going to tribal, the decision to flip, your decision to flip back, which was genius. But still, even after going to the revote,
Yeah.
flipping back when, Aaron and I are sitting there and there's so much emotion going around, and you three are telling her like, we'll give you another chance, like you shouldn't have screwed up. And you guys are honestly, I wasn't talking as much. Aaron was talking more. You four were all trying to get Megan
Yeah.
to flip. And me in that situation was like, hey Megan, like listen to the people who aren't trying to push you so hard to go back on it. And you'd think that like that would have been enough to like, okay, yeah, these people really aren't pushing me over the brink for this. Like that these are people that I can work with in the future. So
Mm-hmm.
that flip back was pretty confusing. I think
Yeah.
definitely Adam taking her to the side had a lot of influence in that. So
Yeah, but I mean, I can see why, after with all the emotion and uncertainty going around in that tribal council, why she wouldn't want to have to go to Rocks and have a 1 of 4, chance of leaving. Like, I feel
yeah.
like I can
Hmm.
see why. Like, I think I would
But
probably
that's where
maybe
like
even do this.
I wouldn't think Adam wanted to either. And if
Mm-hmm.
she,
Yeah, he
I
didn't.
guess
Yeah,
it would just have been who would have caved first, and I guess
yeah.
That's really what
that
it
is
was.
what it
It
was.
would have been a
But
game
that
of
is what it
chicken.
was.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
I
like
feel like.
she didn't put up as much as a fight as I expected. Like she didn't
Mm-hmm.
really do any. She didn't know. I'm not gonna say any. She mentioned her logic behind it, but didn't really give Adam that much pushback
Yeah.
when it came down to it.
No, I remember at the time, like, well, it's funny you mentioned too, the first thing that you said about like you listen to people that aren't like basically telling you what to do. I remember I heard you say that, then I instantly just like stopped talking the whole rest of the tribal council. I'm like, he's totally right. Like, I gotta just stop saying shit. And I
It
really
wasn't enough though, I guess.
no, but you were right. I mean, like that I definitely realized like this isn't the time to just like yell at Megan to do things. Like, I think that Adam's approach worked a
Because
lot
that
better.
was one of the main reasons she flipped, was she didn't like
Mm-hmm.
following the plans of the other people not having as much input,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
She
and it was
doesn't like
tricky
the
because
white males telling her what to do.
yeah, well, it's
Like us
tricky
three.
because like the four of us had that meeting where we basically had a vote as far as like, do we want to vote off Aaron or Dylan? And three of us, me, Adam, and Lucy, all voted like we would prefer Aaron to go, and Megan was the only one that wanted you to go. So it was like, in the context of an alliance, it should be. I guess my thought was like it should be a democratic process. Like you discuss what everybody wants to do, but ultimately, like, what does the majority of the alliance want to do? And it's not
Mhm.
just what does Megan want to do. But I can also
Yep.
see how she could feel like these are like what I want is for Dylan to go, and like the alliance is like disagreeing with me. I feel like I'm on the bottom, and her
True.
flipping I think was like a good move for her. Like if it had panned out, and like I can totally see too, like even this whole discussion about rocks. Like, I mean, you basically went to rocks in a very similar situation to this, like very early on in the game in season 3, third episode.
Mhm.
Uh, so like I can see how like I don't know. I can see how that's really risky. Like, I guess in that scenario, like there's like 10 people going to rocks. Here it's only
Mm-hmm.
4. And
Yeah.
how like Megan might not be willing to go do that. But if it works out in her favor, she has you and Aaron like extremely loyal to her and can work with
Yeah.
Jack. So
Yeah, and
like,
like even leading up to that, I didn't have anything against Megan. We just, we
yeah,
didn't meet much, we didn't talk much, and I assumed that, with that standard set, that it seemed a bit, inorganic to try to push it now at the point when my back's against the wall.
yeah,
It just doesn't seem fair. It's not fair to her to be like, okay, now I want to try to cultivate this relationship when I need it most. That's just not how it works either.
And like, if she doesn't have this like pre-existing relationship with you guys, you can see why she wouldn't want to risk a 1 in 4 chance of going home, just to keep you guys around, even though like maybe it could have been good for her in a game sense, it makes it harder.
Yep. It's going back to the text. Another thing I thought about, because I didn't realize until it came out either that Aaron was the original choice, right? Sam, for that week. So going back to the Abbey text, we don't have that information. We don't have that information as ammo to text out to Megan at that point. So Aaron and I, we could have made up a lie to send as a text anyway, but there's no way that the lie we were going to come up with was going to be, we know that you're dating Jackson. So it's not going to be, it's not going to hit hard. And so, thinking back on it, then it goes, okay, the text doesn't work. Megan doesn't flip. She doesn't tell Adam that she's nervous. Adam doesn't tell you, you don't change your decision. Aaron ends up going home. It's a completely different game.
That's definitely true. It's really weird to think about, like, this text to the century you sent out, like, was like a really, really good move and got Megan to flip. But then that ends up going home. Like, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
And that's
like just bad luck right there, to be honest. Like, because if we had split the votes any other way, like, it felt kind of arbitrary. We're like, Lucy and Adam, like, okay, well, we'll vote for Dylan. Sam and Megan, you vote for Aaron. If it had been split the other way, then like those two voted for Aaron, me and Megan voted for Dylan. I would have changed my vote to Aaron, and like it would have been the opposite. It just happened.
That's true. Yeah, if the plan was set up differently, that's a good point too.
I just had to vote the same way they did, and it was just happened to be on you. That's just how it was. But like,
on that topic, though, do you think you get the information and it's still the plan set up that way? You probably switch to Aaron, Joe, though, just to save yourself, right? Or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I was changing my vote just to match whatever.
Just no matter what you're gonna.
I said to vote the same way they did, so there's 3 votes going like onto one of you. Like, it just happened that they were voting for Dylan instead of for Aaron.
Yeah.
Like, if I had more time, I honestly probably would have told them, like, oh, let's just all 3 vote for Aaron instead. But like, there wasn't time.
Yeah.
So that actually brings up a question that someone in the Discord had, RK Lima had, about what you would have done if this actually none of this happened, and Aaron was the one that ended up going, kind of like the original plan. Like, broadly speaking, like, what do you think your next steps in the game would have been
for me,
without Aaron?
For
you.
So I had these. So Aaron goes home at that point. Megan at in that scenario still not on my side really. I'm honestly, I felt like Adam and I's relationship was fine, but not enough. So I'm pretty much dead in the water at that point. I guess I pray for a swap, or I pray for some sort of advantage or idol or clue to present itself. I was already working those, cross-tribe alliances to try to find something of the sort, to get somebody that was willing to reach out and provide either information or an idol. I don't think anyone would have given me an idol at that point. I think that would be pretty drastic, but who knows what somebody comes up with that of any of the alliances that or any of the people I'd been talking to in the other tribes to help out. And, I just need more luck at that point. In terms of relationships, like, I would definitely then, after Aaron's gone, go back, reach out to Adam and Megan and Sam. I definitely would have, we'd still been talking, but talk to you again. I think Lucy and I are, beyond repair at that point, but you can't just sit there and do nothing, right? So I definitely, an interesting thing you mentioned, like, advantages and reaching out to people.
Well, one of the things that like it wasn't really brought up in the episode, but like Cooper has that what's it called?
The
The
Phantom
Phantom vote.
vote.
Yeah, the Phantom vote. Like, I mean, do you think that that's something that I guess if that Founding Five ends up going again, like you and Megan plus a Phantom vote would be enough. But also, like, do you think that there is any chance that that Phantom vote could have been used in this tribal council if like Megan?
I think if it was more common knowledge that because Aaron and Cooper had a pretty good relationship during the season, that I think he would have saved her. But it just goes to show that you guys kept it close enough to the chest where he didn't use it, and that was the plan.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's clear that it wouldn't have ended up being used. If it did squirt out somehow that Aaron was going home, I think that's a very clear possibility. Using it on me in that for that specific tribal would have not, obviously didn't happen, wouldn't have happened even if, he knew that I was going home. But with Aaron gone and like me talking with Cooper, maybe in another tribal after that, if it was worth it, I don't think the numbers would even be on my side. But if you get one person to flip with plus a Phantom vote, anything is possible.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I mean, if you have, that's the thing. Like Megan, if she feels in the bottom, she definitely could flip. And I don't know. I feel like you definitely could have like done a lot of good damage control with the people on the tribe. Like, you and Adam did have a pretty good relationship, and he really didn't. I mean, he didn't want to vote you out. It just kind of ended up happening because of how the votes were split, honestly.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I feel like with us, like we didn't really have specific beef within the game as much as we were just kind of on different sides from the very start because of the Akshay thing. I definitely was the one that kind of started it with that text that I leaked by accident.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was for like not voting you out after that.
Yeah.
I was on team like he screwed up. He's gonna, want to like make it up to the rest of the tribe.
Yeah. Remember,
which I underestimated that you were just like take that little bit of rope and run with it. So after the Akshay vote, I mean, obviously I was a bit bitter that, like the chance was there and then he ended up going home, but I couldn't be mad that it wasn't me. That could have easily been switched to me or Aaron or something like that. So, you count your blessings. But yeah, go ahead, Jack.
I was just going to ask, that was another question somebody in the Discord had, is like, if you think there's anything you could have done differently for the Akshay vote?
Mm-hmm. So Megan and I did talk, like, I think I talked to everyone except for Lucy that first week. And
she talked to you on the phone, right?
Yeah.
Right before tribal.
Yeah. That was the first time we talked right before tribal. Which everyone saw was pretty productive, right?
100%.
But like when Megan and I met, it was just like a fine conversation, and I think part of it was both of our personalities were this is what I remember from our first conversation was we were both towing the line of not wanting to say something wrong. And so we were just literally going in circles for like 15 minutes of, yes, let's work together. Yeah, I like working with Aaron and I like working with Sam, but I'm not like their number one. We're just, nobody wanted to commit to anything. And so it was hard for us to be like, really not even knowing each other at all beforehand to be like, okay, yeah, let's keep working let's definitely like start an alliance, because I think we both would think that we're just like lying to each other. You know what I mean? So it was just like, I would have, looking back on it before the Akshay vote, it would have been more beneficial to have more conversations, maybe even have a conversation with Lucy that could have been more beneficial. But it was clear like we both were, what's the cowboy word, the standoff. We're almost just in a standoff of who's going to talk to the other person first, and it didn't happen. So that could have been better, honestly, looking back on it. So, but it was a blindside, I didn't see it coming.
Honestly, like one of the things that I think about sometimes, and this was a bad decision, because it caused like a big fracture is like Megan like really wanted to tell you and Aaron before the vote, like, can we just like tell them it's going to be Akshay, that we want to vote Akshay? Maybe we can still get it to be unanimous. And I feel like I remember that like Adam, like Lucy, I think like remember we were like worried like, well, what if there's an idle plate, or what if like, you know, something happens, because we knew Aaron was like really loyal to Akshay. Like,
Yeah,
we're worried like that something could backfire that way. But like ultimately knowing like that there wasn't an idol, if like Megan had come to you guys, or Megan and Adam has said like, hey, listen, like, you know, I thought about it, like I just like would rather vote off Akshay than Lucy this week, and gotten you guys on board. Like, I wonder if that would have, if their tribe would have just been a lot less fractured, or if, you know, do you think
I think so. Yeah, I completely agree. See, like, and if I don't remember if it was one or two, but I was on board with Akshay before Aaron,
Yeah.
you know, brought up that they had this relationship and she really wanted to work with them. And, you know, the big pull with that was, okay, it's clear Sam and Lucy, it's clear Adam and Megan. If we have Akshay and we get one of those out, we're 3 versus 3. We're going to be set. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's like, you know, how do you argue with that if it works,
Makes
right?
sense.
That's
Yeah.
a great scenario if it works. So then, you know, I'm obviously fine with switching with keeping Akshay. But I was down to vote Akshay before she brought that to me. So it could have been differently, and the tribe could have been less fractured. But I mean, the luck goes farther than just, or the unluck goes farther than just me. I mean, you saw how we were as a tribe in the challenges. We got super unlucky in the first one, and honestly, like the cup one was pretty unlucky too.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I know.
We were close. Like, I guess maybe it's not unlucky, but we were so close in that. We played really, like, we killed that second challenge. Like, we absolutely killed that second challenge. We were hours ahead of everyone else, right?
Yeah. I thought that we actually were like a pretty like physical tribe. Like, look, I remember looking at our tribe, I was like, oh, like we're gonna be pretty good at challenges. And like the way we lost was always just kind of dumb. Like, oh, we looked in the wrong spot for the torch, and then like we won the fear pong, and then like, oh, guess what? Actually, you didn't win. You had to do another game of beer pong.
Yeah.
I don't know. Beer pong too is very like, you can be a really good player and just have a bad game, or just like, whatever, be off, and then that's it. Like that's immunity right there. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. You guys had a pretty good comeback though. I remember it looked like it was like they had like 2 or 3 left. You had like most of them. You guys hit like some islands.
We got some balls back at Fire Island or something. Yeah.
Yeah,
we were almost there. They played good though. I'll hand it to them.
They did.
We just got hot late. We got hot late.
Sometimes it's good to get hot late though. Like sometimes you get hot late and it just didn't like.
And it doesn't stop. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
A little too late to get hot.
But then after that, you know, there was idol clues given out, and like I don't think a lot of it was shown in the episodes, but like I heard somewhere that like you and Bailey like looked for a really long time together. Like,
yeah,
I think that you and Bailey
and I
like
had a good
like,
game, or a good relationship in the game.
Yeah.
And I shared, I think it was Akshay's clue with her, maybe another one. And we looked, you know, in the spot where, you know, I think you were one of the first people to mention you knew where that clue was talking to. It was like right behind, what was it again? One of the North Campus buildings.
Yeah, there's that little like path.
Yeah, the little path. Like, she had a good idea of where to go. And we looked for like 2 hours up there. I'd gone up there, I think, on multiple occasions, sometimes by myself, and I looked in every possible place. I don't even know if that at that point it was gone already, but I could not believe that I had not found it. And I thought I had at least a good jump with the clues that were out there. And you know, we were out there in the middle of the night. We found a pentagram in a teepee. There was
I think me and Lucy found a pentagram too on North Campus.
Probably the same one.
Might have been the same one. Yeah. We were like, all right, like that's it. Like
Yeah,
No more
let's
night
call
game.
it a night.
Yeah.
It's pitch dark out right now. We just found a pentagram. That doesn't bode well.
I
Yeah.
feel like if there's anywhere that I would like, you would find a pentagram would be on North Campus, like just some satanic cult of like the Eeks kids,
Yeah. The Eeks kids for sure up there in the teepees. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the question is, what was the worst omen? Was it the pentagram, or was it you opening an umbrella indoors in that one video?
It never crossed my mind that the whole opening umbrella indoors thing. But that could have been the first bad omen, coupled with the pentagram. Do omens cancel each other out? That should have canceled each other out.
It really
But
should have.
Yeah.
Bad luck, I guess. It should have, but it just didn't somehow.
I'm usually never careful with my salt. Who knows how many I tipped over?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you had like tipped over some salt, so like you canceled it out, but since it was an odd number.
Yeah, the odd
Any like
number of
ladders you were
omens.
going under, maybe?
Maybe the teepees count as ladders.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, damn. Forgot to calculate that one in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Another alliance that I wanted to ask about was your alliance with Will. I think that I don't know if that one was shown very much, but like I remember like hearing later that like that was a big one, or like it seems like that one was kept very secret though.
That was like in pre-cast. Nobody really was reaching out to me because no one thought that I would get cast. Nobody thought that a winner, and so Will reached out to me. It was just like, hey, like if you end up playing, like we should have an alliance. And I was like, you know what, like honestly, we didn't have like any, we didn't have bad blood in season 3.
Yeah.
We were very, very close to working with each other at the end, besides, the whole Devin and I situation. And I was like, that nobody would ever expect this. And so when he texted me that, I was like, you know what, man, like, let's do what Devin and I did, and you and I can do it. And we can literally just toss information around. And I was like, it'll honestly be a plus if we're not on the same tribe. And it's like, if we can just get to merge, and then we could really get this thing going. And unfortunately, like, stuff just started happening so fast at the beginning of the game. And the tribes are so different and, unexpected. And we didn't have that many conversations. We would text back and forth about, a couple people we were talking to, or if we found a clue or something. But I did start to, it was almost like I had my own problems to deal with. Sangria wasn't, losing.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm not in a position to, risk anything. I started giving him, less information. I was like, who knows what's going on over there, if this alliance is still going to be the same. I reached out to him, in the same way that, like, I was like, Cooper or Bailey or Andrew or anybody, like, I'm on the chopping block this week. I reached out to him, and he was like, I don't have any clues. Nobody's giving me anything either. There's nothing I can really do for you. I think if he did, I think he definitely would have helped if he had some valuable information. But
yeah,
just didn't pan out. Things just weren't right.
But yeah, it sounds like if like in the scenario where Aaron goes this week, I feel like you had a lot of friends where if there was a swap situation or made it to merge, like I feel like a lot could have happened.
Yeah,
I don't think you were dead in the water
Will
at
and
all.
Sangria. I didn't have like bad relationships with like really like anyone outside of our tribe.
Yeah.
And so, I guess like Will, Bailey, Cooper, Andrew, are like the main ones I was talking to. But I could have potentially seen, talking with like Jesse or Emily B too.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that could have worked out.
Maybe Jackson.
Yeah, maybe Jackson. Maybe at that point, like, Megan and I have a better relationship, and that'd be fine, So
I feel like a you and Jackson alliance would be pretty fun.
I think it would be really fun, but I feel like we would just never fully trust each other. I don't think it would ever fully work, but I think it would be so chaotic and fun. Yeah.
It would have been funny to see though, like you and Jackson and Crouch.
Yeah. I wanted to work with Crouch really bad, so that was a big bummer.
Yeah. It was funny. Like there's a clip of like you two ran into each other like drunk on like North Campus or something, just like talking about the game. It's a funny partnership to see.
It was like 2 a.m. Ran into him. I was like, all right, let's film this. Might as well, right?
Yeah.
So I have kind of a favor. Can I ask of you from KYTL? Can you give us a couple like reaction clips that we can play maybe after like somebody has a hot take or something?
Yeah, sure. A hot take.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We'll do it like how I filmed the other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It starts off like, I guess this is more of like a behind the scenes. You know, I'll be like, get ready. Be like,
This is exclusive information. Yeah, we're seeing the prep.
Go check it out. See if we're all good. Holy shit. What are you doing? Or you guys can't laugh.
Sorry, no.
Yeah, gotta mute.
That was the wrong idea. I don't even know what other ones do we want. What you don't realize is this took a lot of clips to get these right.
Maybe like can she say that?
Is she allowed to do that?
Perfect.
Good.
Thank you. How'd you feel about that kind of being your defining characteristic from the edit?
I'm fine. You know, I was fine with it because production Ian edited it so well, but I didn't think it was going to take off like that at all. I didn't think the whole clip was going to be thrown in there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think the whole clip was going to be thrown in, and then I just expected it to be actually split up and then used like a few times or something. But it's a good trademark to have. You know, my legacy can live on, and I hope they continue using it in the rest of the All-Stars episodes.
Does anybody ever come up to you in the street and just like yell like, "Wow, that was something"?
No, but you know, I wouldn't be surprised if it's not too far if the show keeps increasing in fandom as it has been. But it was funny. So I guess I've mentioned, maybe I haven't mentioned this before, but well, you guys know, but for the listeners out there, I inherited the Coopers and Ian and Party's house in the 716 Arbor House after they moved out, and about halfway through senior year in that house, we had a group of people coming in to start scoping it out for the next year, seeing if we were leaving. And they're like, yeah, can we come in for a tour tomorrow? And they come back tomorrow with 4 or 5 people that they're trying to check out the place, and they're all filing in, and the guy in the back goes, yo, he's like, are you Dylan from Survivor Michigan? And this guy was like a sophomore or something, right? So it's, I think pretty relatively new at this point, at least for season 3, I mean. And I was like, oh yeah. And he's like, oh dude, like huge fan, like would be sweet if we could get this house. And I was like, oh, just like didn't know what to say, but I was like, thanks for watching, never would have expected that to come about from. Have you guys had anything like that before? Anybody coming up like, at the airport or on the street, or like, it's just some random place that you wouldn't expect?
Sam, I feel like you've got a couple, right?
Yeah, I was once I was at a work project in some random ass state. It was Connecticut or something. And I was at this construction site, and I was working with this construction guy, and he's like, you look super familiar from something. I'm like, okay, I don't know. I don't know you, probably not. And the next day, he's like, no, I know you're from. You're from that show on YouTube, Survivor Michigan. I was like, This is like some like 50-year-old guy like just working in construction. I'm like, how have you seen College Survivor? How does this even happen? He's like, I don't know. I just watched like random stuff on YouTube. It just like came up. Just some guy.
Amazing.
And then like just a few weeks ago at work, I was like at the Amazon office. Just went into an elevator. And I was like going up like to whatever my office or something. And like another guy's in the elevator. He just like recognized me from Survivor Michigan. He's like, oh, you're Sam from Survivor.
That's crazy.
That was crazy. But that guy, I think he went to Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, I think that makes more sense. He was like around our age and went to Michigan, but it was still crazy. I'm like, there's some guy in an elevator in like Seattle, like has seen it. Like it's,
yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of people that have seen this stuff, you know, not enough to where it's like we're recognized on the street, but enough to where like 1 out of every million people has like seen it or something. You know what I mean?
A lot of like my friends like parents like got really into it too, and like just like they were just like Survivor fans in general. Then they heard about this and they were like, wow, this is like so funny and like so cool that they're doing it on like a college setting too. And then like I went to like a couple of summers ago, I went out to visit my buddy in San Francisco, and his mom came to go, you know, pick us up from the airport or something. And, you know, it wasn't, you know, hi, you know, my buddy's friend, like, you know, nice to meet you. It's, oh my God. It was, oh my gosh, Dylan from Survivor Michigan. Like, it's so nice to finally meet you. And I was like, oh, that's sweet.
That's
so she was like, yeah, I love that. I watched every episode. Loved when you know, jumped off the roof in a penguin costume. And I was like, thanks. You know, like, don't mention it. Stuff like that. It's really funny.
I do wish the penguin costume made some more appearances in All Stars, but it's okay.
Yeah, you know, it's just that thing. It's hot. It gets hot in that costume. It's warm. You know.
One of my questions is about Lucy. One of the big kind of themes that we've seen this season is like you and Lucy were not exactly on the same page. Curious, you want to speak more into that, or like, you know, are you and Lucy like friends now, or like what happened with Lucy?
So I'd say like after, you know, it's just pretty much, it was, from what I can remember, I mean, there was nothing much that came after, but you know, we don't really talk nowadays, but there was a Survivor drinking game. I don't know if it was the summer after or the summer after that. And, you know, we ended up, you know, trying to work together and be an alliance in Survivor drinking games. And we were like, yeah, no one would ever expect this. And from my standpoint, it seemed pretty genuine, and I don't think either of us ended up winning. But you know, from that interaction, you know, it was good. You know, I've got no ill will from that point. So, I guess that's not much in the past few years. So, not much tea for you guys, I suppose.
Yeah, people graduate and move away and everything, but
yeah,
you're robbed of seeing a scenario where you stay in the game and then you and Lucy have like a secret alliance. Like no one will expect to get together.
That would have been something. That would have been that was something moment for sure.
Yeah, that was something moment.
That would have been a real one to you too, because that probably would have taken you completely by surprise.
Yeah, that would have been great. I would have probably hated to see that in the game and like love to see that now, like watching it back. That's the thing. Like some of this stuff is, I feel like it's been long enough where I'll like watch something that directly impacted me negatively, but I'm like, that was such a good moment on TV that like I still like loved it, even though like as back then it probably pissed me off, but now I'm like, oh, like Megan and Jackson, like live mother relationship for 6 months, like that's incredible. Like that's never how is that ever
fake
never
boyfriend?
TV? You know? That's just like
usually don't get away with
TV.
It. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I have one more question. How do you think your main man Devin would have done if he played All Stars?
trying to think. So like, trying to think of the alliances. You know, he
What
would
if
have
he was just
had.
swapped onto instead of you playing, it was him on Panini?
I think that. I think I could see Aaron working with him, but um, I guess that would have been a really interesting scenario because, you know, Aaron and I started working together real quick, and I think she might have been more reluctant. Um, but
Mm.
I don't think she had as much ill will towards the Sabu Sabu tribe um, from season three, but she was pretty bitter about Devin voting her out in the final three. At the time, she didn't realize that he and I had this alliance. So, from her perspective, it didn't. She couldn't really justify making sense, and she had it in the bag if she made it. So she has every right to be bitter. Um, I could see her maybe holding a grudge still, but when it comes down to it, season three in that tribe setup, you need to stick together. So. Um, I could see him being all right, but if he maybe doesn't play. I guess I don't know what kind of game he'd play. A lot of people don't want to play the same game that they played in their own season.
Yeah.
So it'd be very interesting to see. I could see him doing well, but I could also see a similar situation panning out that happened to me with him not having a big relationship with the season four people, and then maybe Aaron getting voted out before him, and then I don't know, Sam. What is your take? Would you? I mean, you're part of the scenario too. How would that have worked out from your perspective? I could see him doing well on other tribes, to be quite honest. With Emily B or Andrew, and then all of those, he was doing pretty well with Sabu Sabu. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think he could have done well. I feel like the biggest thing I think of with Devin is that he didn't really have any big beef with anybody, like at all. So like, I feel like he could have worked with just about anybody in the cast.
yeah,
He wasn't like as active. I remember like socially with the rest of the group. So like, I mean, he might have had to do more work to like develop some of those relationships. But I feel like Devin's a good player, and we saw Brady is a good player, and that he's like. I feel like similar to you, like Devin's a person that like I think would have been really underestimated at that time. So like he could have
yeah.
so well and was like close to winning. I feel like he wouldn't have had the same target on his back that like some other people did. So I think that could have helped.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And the thing is, like, he can't get complacent with like a main alliance,
Yeah.
I feel like, he was really comfortable with Eliza as a main alliance, and then Savu Savo just together wasn't a fractured tribe. So
Yeah.
it was easy to navigate within that initially, at like the pre-merge. And but like you mentioned, like he was very sociable. He and I got along like, right away. And so
Yeah.
I have no doubt that he could do the same thing with, get along with a lot of other people and
Oh yeah.
be successful for sure.
He's very easy to get along with and like have a conversation with. I think that both of you had that in common, which is why like both of you were able to make a lot of alliances pretty easily. So I think that would have helped him out.
All right, I got to bounce.
Well, it's been great talking with you again and going over a little bit of both of your survivor journeys. Thank you for the little sound clips.
Appreciate you guys having me. Yeah, sorry the sound clips probably sound pretty, inorganic.
They're perfect.
Haven't
we got what we need.
Yeah, good. I'm glad. Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. This is fun.
Yeah, great talking, Dylan. And I owe you an apology for underrating you in season 5. I was completely wrong watching this back.
That was the wrong idea. Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Thanks.
See ya.